All right, Peter, well, very good to talk to you. Before we get on to the main events at Wimbledon, let's talk about Marina Arakovic. How do you rate her tournament?
She's done a fantastic job. I think the fact that she's come on so well since the French Open, where she made the third round also, she's done a fantastic job, really. The pressure against her in that third round match against Laura Robson from Great Britain, I think was one where the whole British crowd was right behind Robson. From memory, Arakovic won the first set 6-3 and was up 5-4 in the second to lose it in 3 sets. So I think that was a really, really good effort, and I think she's now coming of age in terms of Grand Slam tennis, and I'd like to see a bit more. Also, her very narrow loss with Cara Black in the doubles in the third round to make the quarters was a very, very closely fought match. So I think she's done exceptionally well.
We haven't seen the best of her then, you're saying?
I think it's yet to come. I think that Marina's adaptation, I guess, to the big stage is becoming more and more experienced, and she's playing a lot better and a lot more relaxed than she has in the past, so it's a great thing.
And she walks away with 140,000 from the past week or so. It's not such a bad payday, is it?
It's not too bad at all.
Would that cover her costs?
Well, perhaps you'd have got to average that sort of income over a year, but she is doing very well in the Challengers series type tournaments. She's getting to finals of a lot of them, semi-finals, winning doubles, this sort of thing. I think she's probably making quite a handy living right now.
Now, not to downplay Marina's achievements, but let's talk about the main deals. What is your theory on why the seeds fell so fast early on?
Well, there's some speculation that the grass courts are playing faster than they ever have before. I think that could be taken with a grain of salt, though.
What can cause the grass courts to speed up or slow down?
Well, I think it may be the grass they use, or it could be condensation. They've had 3 rain days at the tournament already, and condensation will speed the grass court up. I think you've seen some interesting things happen with Azarenka retiring with injury, Sharapova departing very early, and that brings us on, of course, to what's happened in the final. And all in all, it's a very interesting, almost unprecedented result at a Wimbledon tournament where you have no top 10 players in the final.
How rare is that? Very rare.
Extremely. I couldn't quote you on that, but I don't think that's happened in a very, very long time.
In the women's draw, it looked a certainty that Serena Williams would win when her rivals were knocked out early. Do you think the complacency was maybe a factor in her performance?
Well, Serena Williams left a very, very interesting article following that match, saying that her serve let her down badly, and she wasn't sure she wanted her serve to go in. Very gracious in defeat, Serena was, in terms of the fact that she admitted quite clearly that she didn't play well enough to win. You know, despite having a third set advantage, she still couldn't close it out, which is very uncharacteristic. So that's certainly opened the doors to as I said before, a very unique final in the ladies.
Not the end of Serena, though, certainly.
I wouldn't think so, no. I definitely wouldn't think that. She's been playing more tournaments this year than she has in a long time. You know, I can't remember the last time she was seeded 1 in a Grand Slam, simply because she didn't play tournaments leading up to the Grand Slam to achieve that seeding. So all in all, you know, she's won tournaments as 5th and 7th seed, things like that. So a very unexpected shock loss that sort of really has sewn up this tournament really on how it's worked, especially in the ladies with all the seeds disappearing quite early.
Of the finalists, Lisicki has become a crowd favourite since beating Williams, but Marion Bartoli is more experienced, having played a final before. Is this going to be a factor?
It's going to be very interesting, that one. Lisicki is a player that's, if we look at what she's done from quarterfinals on in this draw, she beat Samantha Stosur, she beat Serena Williams, and she beat Radwanska in the semi. So that's a pretty impressive track record. She's also, in the history of Bartoli, Lisicki head-to-head, is up 3 matches to 1. 2008, 2009, she beat her in the French Open. Of course, that's the clay, a much slower court. We would think that Bartoli's stronger ground strokes would have dictated. However, she's beaten her twice at the French and in the third round of the quarters of Wimbledon in 2011 also. So Lisicki will go in there as a clear favourite. However, Bartoli is very much like an Ivan Lendl to me, where the raw talent is not necessarily in abundance with her. Her father, Bartoli's father, is a surgeon, and he's worked very hard on her biomechanical makeup in terms of getting large rubber, elasticized rubber, and putting that around her waist and securing it, and putting a ball outside of her reach and making her first force forward to it. So Bartoli is a workhorse. She has put huge effort into where she is as a tennis player. So you're looking at Lisicky, who's used to grass, has had a great track record getting to the final, beaten some really strong players against a really dogged workhorse. So that's what's going to make the final in the ladies so interesting.
You'll be picking Andy Murray and Djokovic to meet in the final, but there's good contests along the way for both of them.
Well, I think particularly Djokovic's got a challenge on his hands with Del Potro. That's going to be a tough match for Djokovic, but I think at the end of the day, Djokovic is the king of the fast court. He's slightly questionable on clay, but on fast courts I'm really not seeing Del Potro doing too much damage there. Djokovic is still very fresh. He's moving along pretty nicely, and he is the number one player in the world, and that's not a fluke.
Was Andy Murray's 5-set stumble in the quarters a good or a bad thing for him?
I think that's perfect for Andy Murray. I don't think he could have asked for anything better against Verdasco. It was 9-7 to Murray in the fifth set, lots of pressure. I think what that tells us is that Murray's growing the top 2 inches are growing quite quickly in terms of his ability to stay in a match. We've got to remember also that it's his home crowd, that there's a lot of pressure on him to win Wimbledon. He's dealing with that better, I think, and I don't think, forgive me, I can't pronounce the name of the guy that Murray's playing in the semi, simply because I've never heard of him before. It's a very rare spot for him to make the Polish guy. Murray will not have any trouble there. Yes, definitely a Murray-Djokovic, final.
Well, Murray, I mean, it's been 80 years since the Brits managed to win their own tournament. I mean, the pressure's going to be enormous, isn't it?
Oh, most definitely, and I don't believe he's handled that well in the last few years. I think the influence of Ivan Lendl on Murray as his coach has been largely in that area. I think that Murray is way more prepared mentally this time, and he's got game to go with it. Whether he can overpower Djokovic, though, it's a tough one, very tough one to call.
Djokovic hasn't dropped a set, has he?
Correct, he hasn't, and he's got to go in with very fresh legs and a very positive attitude. So we'll wait anxiously on that one. I'll look forward to seeing that match.
And Lisicky, actually, we haven't seen a German finalist since Steffi Graf, 98.
In the female side, of course, Boris Becker did feature as a male, but you're right, yes, Steffi Graf lost to Lindsay Davenport in the 80s, so, something like that. So it's been quite a while, and again, Lisicky is someone I think that's favoured to win the final. Personally, I would be going more down the Bartoli line myself, simply because of that workhorse attitude she's got. I think she'll stick with Lisicky the whole way and wait for an opportunity. So that's my call on the ladies, and I just don't think Andy Murray's got quite enough to beat Djokovic in the final either. So my call on the tournament will be Djokovic in the men, Bartoli in 3 sets in the ladies.
Well, you almost agree with Tom Conroy. He reckons Djokovic and Lisicky, so we'll wait and see.
Yeah, Tom's definitely favouring the odds, isn't he?